Rakkety Tam by Brian Jacks, Chapter 8. It's got two weasels in a ship. Two ermine who had left behind to repair the big ship upon the rocks watched Rakkety Tam and Doogie Plume advancing through the dusk. In the ship's bow, the vermin hid, peering through a hole which had been smashed through the hole in its waterline. It was not difficult to see the two squirrels, since they were both carrying lighted torches. Neither of the ermine knew anything about ship repairing, but they were forced to comply, knowing that disobedience to their savage leader meant instant death. From the gloom of the hiding place they watched the squirrels move closer, drawing his sickle-curved sword. The more hefty of the two ermine licked the blade, and Grinny wriggled, and companion, the tall, thin mist, whispered in warning, "Don't slay 'em straight off. They lives the coast, and probably, too, like those have been bound together in a plug in this hole, craft making a seaward." The hefty one snickered. "Hey, matey, good idea. What should we do with the toil? These oafs fix the ship first, and then we'll skin 'em nice and slow," claimed the little fat one, his taste a plump squirrel. His companion nodded his head. "Right, I'll take the other. Wonder what those two idiots are doing wandering around the shore at this hour." Eyes shining in anticipation, the hefty ermine murmured, "Who cares? Nice of them to bring the fire along. Didn't put the flint and steel tinder to make a roasting fire." Moving closer to the edge of the hull, whispered to his partner, "Let's go welcome 'em." As Tam and Doogie reached the ship, the two ermine idled into the rocks and drew swords. Doogie's paw dropped out of the basket of his claymore. "Wow, now, will you look at it? We've got company." Tam slid his dirk behind his shield, and hiding it from view, he raised his voice, addressing the vermin cheerfully. "A good evening to you, sirs. Is this your vessel? Dearie me, in a bit of a mess, ain't it?" And the hefty ermine swaggering forward, ignoring the "Well, no listen to that saucy old windbag. He thinks we're ship repairers." Tam wedged his torch between two rocks. "He's certainly a hard-faced rogue, Doogie. He calls us bumpkins. I think he'll have to repair his manners." The thin ermine brandished his sword, snarling, "Shut your mouth. You surrender those weapons. You know who we're talking to. The two warriors who serve Gulo, the savage. Do as you're told, and we might let you live." Doogie stuck his torch alongside Tam's. "Och, you great string of seaweed, and dinna care whose chieftain is. Nobody talks to weed Doogie Plum like that." Without further ado, a fight to the death commenced. The thin one swung his blade in Doogie's head, and the Highlander moved with the speed and begun his girth. Leaping forward, he swung his claymore in a single mighty arc. Whoosh! It smashed the blade in the vermin's paw through the cannon bow. The hefty Tam and spike in the overhead downward swing of a curved blade. Tam whipped his shield up to deflecting the blow. At the same instant, Tam's dirk took and shocked vermin through the heart in the upward thrust. And showing no great concern, Doogie inquired as he cleaned his blade, "Did you think any damage to your buckler, Tam?" After inspecting the shield's center boss, Tam shrugged. "Only a wee dent. His old shield's taken enough of them at this time. Let's search the ship in case there's any more." Four beasts looking about. Climbing through the rift of the hull, they held up their torches and gazed around. Doogie pulled a face, covering his nose with his tail. "Land sakes, Tam, the smell of these here enough to knock your body flat. I wonder what Gulo the savage is. Yon vermin spoke his name like we ought to know him." Tam bent his head, examined the locker, which proved to be empty. "That's one drill ledge mentioned. He'll not be the leader. The beast who goes around eating other creatures. Gross. He's the lad we'll have to meet up with others to Alternum's banner back." Grimacing with distaste, Doogie turned over some moldy seabird feathers and fish bones as his blade went. "I'd be minded to speak to him politely. Och, there's not much of us here, Tam. Let's get rid of these stinking hulk." Exiting the ship, they heaved the slain bodies through the hull bow, tossing the lighted torches after them. Night was fully fallen, and Tam and Doogie watched flames, smoke rising, fire shot up the rigging and through the sails like hungry beasts, sending sparks crackling into the dark sky. Using the light, Tam cast about until he found paw prints. They must have doubled back this way after raiding the groves. There's a whole army there. headed off the north along the shore. Well, Doogie, we'll follow him now or leave it until dawn. Sitting down on some dry sand, Doogie held his paws to the blaze. "'Tis a shame to be wasting such a brawn fire, Tom. Let's take a wee bit of supper and sleep here where it's warm and upwind of the sparks, eh?" Supper was merely a few apples and some cheese, and they stuck the points on their swords and toasting them on the glowing proud timbers. Having eaten, Doogie wrapped his cloak about him, grunted contentedly. "Mercy me, aren't we living the life of Kingstown? A bronze fire in the hearth, and a floor of sand, and a roof of toasted apples and cheese. What more could ye ask for?" Tam wiped melted cheese from his sword tip, intimidating his thick robe. "Och, ye easy pleased me wee Doogie. Ye have a pretty maid to sing us to sleep." Doogie gathered a swath of his cloak in his face like a headscarf. He began twittering in what he fondly imagined was maidenly voice. "Ooh, just a saucy great beastie, needna fret, I sing little wee lullaby." Tam broke mock despair. "Spare me that, Doogie. You look like a boiled pudding, and you sound like a toad torped under a rock." He looked back and tried to sleep, wishing his near his young maidens. "Oh, a beetle's a maid sat in the glade, and she's lamented sadly. My love's gone off to fight the bees, and feared he'd fare off gladly. Those bumblebee bees were fierce wee wings, wee stripy shirts and wee small wings. Their bottoms carry nasty stings, they're feisty and a buzzy. Och, me Bertie beetle, looking stern and needle amidst the funny. When I said that I'd done kiss him, he brought me some honey. He took his club from off the shelf and said to me so gravely, 'I'll fetch you honey back anew,' and march off right bravely. 'Twas some land time here returned me poor lovely, me injured sorely. To spread him we the lament and listen to his story. Alas, poor me, tell love a fool, did no beast tell his fellow. There's bees and don't wear fuzzy shirts, unwashed, striped black and yellow. Was a hey and a ho and a lackady doodly done. Midst all the shameful fuss, 'tis not just birds who live in the trees, and not just bees that buzz." Tam was snoring before Doogie finished his ballad, and the Highland squirrel glanced huffily at his companion. "Well, thank ye for those sounds of appreciation. I'll bid ye good night, and hope that some sparks get blown into the unflaming kettle." Scraping sand together in a pillow shape, Doogie lay down his head, allowing slumber and soothing dignity. 2 hours before dawn, both friends were sound asleep, wrapping their cloaks